Jack Collins walked into the massive dome-shaped lecture hall of Galactic University's engineering department. The room was filled with students from all corners of the galaxy. Some had tentacles instead of arms, others floated above their seats. A few were made of living metal or glowing energy. Jack was the only human there. He found his usual seat in the back row. The bench was too wide and the desk too high, made for larger alien species. Jack had gotten used to it. He pulled out his tablet and stylus, ready for class. Professor Zixtar entered the room. The alien teacher stood 7 feet tall with blue crystalline skin that sparkled under the lights. He had 6 arms and 4 eyes that could all move in different directions. 2 of those eyes were now fixed on Jack. "Today," Professor Zixtar announced, his voice deep and echoing, "I will assign your final project for the semester." A wave of whispers passed through the room. Final projects at Galactic University were famous for being extremely hard. Many students failed them every year. "Silence," the professor said. The room went quiet instantly. "The Galactic Council has a problem. They want to colonize the planet Nebula 6, but its air is toxic. Your task is to design and build a working prototype that can clean Nebula 6's atmosphere and make it breathable for most species." The alien students started talking all at once. Some sounded worried, others sounded excited. "This is typically a job for a team of senior engineers," Professor Zixtar continued. "They usually take 3 months to solve it. You have 2 galactic weeks." He looked directly at Jack. "For our Earth representative, that's 14 Earth days." Jack felt his stomach tighten. The professor had never hidden his belief that humans were too primitive for galactic-level engineering. This project seemed designed to prove that point. A Vordarian student named Krell turned around in his seat. He had blue skin, 4 arms, and a head shaped like a diamond. "Don't worry, human," he said loudly enough for others to hear. "Nobody expects you to finish. Your planet barely has space travel." Jack said nothing. He just kept taking notes. "You will have access to all university resources," Professor Zixtar said. "Use them wisely." Class dismissed. The students rushed out, already forming groups and making plans. Jack stayed in his seat until most had left. Then he packed his things calmly and walked out. Instead of going to the library or the labs like the others, Jack went back to his small room in the Earth dormitory. It was the only place in the university made for human comfort. Jack sat on his bed and thought about the project. The other students would try to solve this with the newest, most complex technology. They would run simulations for days before building anything. That was how they were taught, but Jack had a different idea. He called his girlfriend back on Earth. After a few seconds, Olivia Martinez's face appeared on his screen. She had dark hair, brown eyes, and a smile that always made Jack feel better. "Hey, space boy," she said. "How's life among the aliens?" "Challenging," Jack said. "We just got our final project. It's supposed to be impossible for humans." "So, just another Tuesday for you?" Olivia laughed. She knew how much Jack loved proving people wrong. "Pretty much," Jack said. "Can we still have our dinner date tonight? I need to work on this, but I'll be done by then." "Of course," Olivia said. "Wait, aren't these final projects supposed to take weeks?" "For everyone else, maybe," Jack said with a smile. "I have an idea that might work much faster. I'll tell you all about it at dinner." After saying goodbye to Olivia, Jack pulled up files from Earth's history of environmental engineering. While the alien students were focused on creating brand new solutions, Jack was looking for old ones that could be adapted. He found what he was looking for in 3 different time periods: a chemical filtration system from the 1800s, carbon capture technology from the 2030s, and a new catalytic converter designed by his former professor, Dr. Natalie Wong. "Sometimes the oldest solutions are the best ones," Jack said to himself as he began to sketch his design. By mid-afternoon, Jack had a complete plan. He went to the engineering lab to gather supplies. The lab assistant, a robot named Unit 7, watched with curiosity. "Human Jack Collins, the simulation rooms are in the East Wing," Unit 7 said. "You will need to run tests before gathering materials." I'm skipping the simulations, Jack said as he collected parts from the recycling bin. I already know this will work. Unit 7's lights blinked in what Jack had learned was the robot version of surprise. No simulations? That is against standard protocol. Earth protocol is different, Jack explained as he found the last part he needed. We test things by building them. Back in his room, Jack began assembling his device. It was small, about the size of a shoebox. It didn't look impressive. It had none of the glowing parts or floating components that alien technology usually had. But Jack knew it would work. By evening, he had finished the basic assembly. He still needed to fine-tune it and run some tests, but the hard part was done. Jack checked the time. He had just enough time to shower and change before his dinner date with Olivia. As he was getting ready, his door chimed. Jack opened it to find Krell standing there with two other students, a synthetic named Loop and a Melusian named Trix. We came to offer help, Krell said, though he didn't sound very helpful. Our study group has been working all day on initial simulations. Jack looked at their tired faces. How's it going? The simulations say it will take at least 10 days to find a viable approach, Loop said, its metallic face showing no emotion. Then building time after that. We thought perhaps you would want to join our group, Trix added. The Melusian had purple skin and eyes that changed color with her mood. Right now they were dark blue, the color of stress. It would be ... beneficial for all. Jack knew what they really wanted. They had heard he was working without simulations, which was unheard of at the university. They were curious and probably worried he had found a shortcut they had missed. Thanks for the offer, Jack said politely. But I think I'll work alone on this one. You cannot possibly solve this by yourself, Krell said, his voice rising. Our combined intelligences. I'm not trying to solve it the same way you are, Jack interrupted. But good luck with your approach. He closed the door gently but firmly, leaving the three aliens standing in the hallway looking confused. Jack smiled to himself as he finished getting ready for his date. His device wasn't finished yet, but the hardest part was done. Tomorrow he would complete it and run the final tests. Then he would show Professor Zixtar what humans could really do. As Jack set up the holographic projector for his dinner with Olivia, he wondered what the professor's face would look like when a human solved in one day what was supposed to take 2 weeks. He couldn't wait to find out. The next morning, Jack woke up early. His dinner date with Olivia had gone well. She had laughed when he told her about his plan to finish the project in just a few days instead of 2 weeks. That's my Jack, she had said. Always finding the simple way when everyone else makes things complicated. Jack got dressed quickly and grabbed his device. It looked plain and simple compared to alien technology. No flashing lights or floating parts. Just a metal box with tubes and filters. But Jack knew looks could be deceiving. He headed to the engineering lab. The hallways were mostly empty. Most students were either sleeping after working all night or in the simulation rooms running more tests. Jack had the lab almost to himself, Unit 7. The robot lab assistant was there. Human Jack Collins, you have returned. Have you changed your mind about running simulations? No, Jack said. I need to finish my prototype and test it. Do you have any samples of Nebula 6 atmosphere? Unit 7's lights blinked rapidly. We do, but they are highly toxic and restricted. Students are not supposed to work with actual samples until their designs have passed at least 3 levels of simulation. I don't have time for that, Jack said. Can you make an exception? I cannot, Unit 7 said. But Professor Zixtar can. His office hours begin in 20 minutes. Jack thanked the robot and went to finish his device while waiting. He added the final components and ran a system check. Everything looked good. Now he just needed a sample of the toxic atmosphere to prove it worked. At exactly the start of office hours, Jack knocked on Professor Zixtar's door. Enter, the professor's deep voice called. Jack walked in with his device tucked under his arm. The professor's office was large, with ceiling-to-floor windows showing the purple sky of the planet. The walls were lined with awards and strange alien artifacts. Professor Zixtar sat behind a massive desk made from a material that seemed to glow from within. "Mr. Collins," the professor said, not bothering to hide his surprise. "What brings you here so early in the project timeline?" "I need access to a sample of Nebula 6 atmosphere," Jack said. "I'm ready to test my prototype." All four of the professor's eyes widened. "Test? You have not even submitted any simulation results." "I didn't run simulations," Jack said. "I built this instead." He placed his device on the desk. Professor Zixtar stared at the simple box. "This is your solution? This primitive-looking device?" "Yes," Jack said. "May I test it?" The professor made a sound that Jack had learned was the Arcturian version of laughter. "Very well, Mr. Collins. I am curious to see this human approach in action, even if it fails. It will be educational for you." He pressed a button on his desk. "Unit to 9, please come to my office with a sealed sample of Nebula 6 atmosphere." A few minutes later, another robot assistant entered, carrying a clear container filled with swirling purple gas. It looked like dark storm clouds trapped in a box. "Place it here," the professor instructed. Then he called another number. "Thrix, please come to my office. I require a witness for a demonstration." Soon after, a Malusian graduate student arrived. She had the same purple skin as Trix from yesterday, but her eyes were green, the color of curiosity. "Mr. Collins believes he has solved the Nebula 6 problem without running simulations," Professor Zixtar explained to Thrix. "He wishes to test his device directly." Thrix looked at Jack with surprise. "Is that wise?" "The toxic elements in Nebula 6 are highly reactive." "That's what I'm counting on," Jack said as he connected his device to the container. He made a few adjustments, double-checking everything. "The device works in 3 stages," Jack explained as he worked. "First, it uses a chemical process similar to one developed on Earth during our Industrial Revolution to separate the toxic elements. Then it captures the harmful compounds using carbon filters, technology we perfected in the 2030s. Finally, it uses a catalyst developed by my former professor to convert the remaining toxins into harmless gases." Professor Zixtar and Thrix exchanged looks. They clearly didn't believe it would work. Old technology cannot possibly handle the complex chemistry of Nebula 6. The professor said. Jack just smiled and pressed the activation button on his device. "Let's find out." The machine hummed to life. Inside the container, the purple gas began to move, swirling faster. Then slowly it started to change color. The dark purple lightened to lavender, then pale blue, and finally to a clear, slightly golden color, just like the breathable air mix used throughout the university. Professor Zixtar's crystalline skin flashed with patterns of shock. Thrix's eyes turned bright yellow. The Malusian color of amazement. Unit to 9 scanned the container. Atmosphere analysis complete. Toxins removed, 99.7%. Oxygen level, optimal. Nitrogen level, optimal. The atmosphere is now breathable for 96% of known sentient species. Silence filled the room. Jack stood quietly, letting them process what they had just seen. "Impossible," Professor Zixtar finally said. "The computational models alone would take days to perfect. How did you do this in less than 1 day?" "I didn't try to reinvent the solution," Jack explained. "Earth has faced similar problems before, just on a smaller scale. We developed simple but effective methods because we didn't have advanced technology. Sometimes the old ways work best." Thrix moved closer to examine the device. "But it's so simple." "That's the point," Jack said. "It doesn't need quantum processors or exotic materials. It can be mass-produced easily and cheaply. It can be repaired with basic tools, and it works." Professor Zixtar stood up slowly. His crystalline skin had changed from patterns of shock to something Jack had never seen before: respect. "Mr. Collins," the professor said formally, "I owe you an apology. I underestimated both you and your species. This solution is elegant in its simplicity." Jack nodded, accepting the apology. "Thank you, Professor." Should I submit a formal report now, or would you like me to explain the technical details first? Both, the professor said. But first I must inform the dean. This is an extraordinary achievement. He turned to Unit 9. Contact Dean Harmony. Immediately. Tell them we have a breakthrough in the Nebula 6 project that they must see. As the robot left to deliver the message, Thrix looked at Jack with new interest. The other students will not believe this. They are still running basic simulations. Sometimes doing is better than planning, Jack said with a small smile. That's a very human approach. Professor Zixtar was examining the device more carefully. Now, I have been teaching for 87 years, and I have never seen a solution this efficient delivered this quickly. The Galactic Council will be very interested in your design, Mr. Collins. Jack felt a surge of pride, not just for himself but for all humans. He had proven that humanity had something valuable to offer the galaxy after all. A different way of thinking and solving problems. I'm glad I could help, he said simply. Now, about that report. News spread quickly through Galactic University. By lunchtime, everyone had heard about the human who solved the Nebula 6 problem in just one day. Jack tried to eat his lunch in peace at the far corner of the dining hall, but students kept coming. Over to his table. Is it true you didn't run any simulations? Asked a synthetic student with glowing green eyes. Did you really use ancient Earth technology? A floating cloud-like being wanted to know, can I see the device? Asked a small reptilian student with 6 legs. Jack answered their questions politely, but he was relieved when his communicator beeped with a message. It was from Dean Harmony's office. Requesting his presence immediately, Dean Harmony was not a single being but a quantum collective, 15 separate entities that shared one consciousness. As Jack entered the dean's office, all 15 members were present, floating slightly above the floor. They looked like humans made of pure light, each a different color. Jack Collins, they spoke in perfect unison, their voices creating a beautiful harmony. We have reviewed your solution to the Nebula 6 problem. It is most impressive. Thank you, Jack said, feeling a bit nervous. Meeting with the dean was rare for students. Professor Zixtar has shown us the test results, the dean continued. Your device achieved 99.7% toxin removal with minimal energy consumption. The Galactic Council representatives are very interested. Galactic Council representatives? Jack asked, surprised. One of the dean's bodies gestured to a door at the side of the office. It opened to reveal a conference room where several important-looking aliens sat around a large table. Professor Zixtar was there too, along with Jack's device. They wish to speak with you, the dean said. This is a great honor. Jack followed the dean into the conference room. The aliens around the table were a species he had never seen before. They wore formal attire with symbols that Jack recognized as markers of high government positions. Mr. Collins, said an alien with skin like polished bronze and eyes that looked like galaxies. I am Ambassador Vorn of the Galactic Council. These are my colleagues from the Colonization Committee. Jack nodded respectfully to each of them. Your solution to the Nebula 6 problem is extraordinary, the ambassador continued. Especially considering your species has only recently joined the galactic community. Thank you, sir, Jack said, but I can't take full credit. I just combined technologies that Earth scientists developed long ago. That is precisely what makes it so valuable, said another council member, a tall being with white feathers. You approach the problem differently than anyone else would have. Professor Zixtar stepped forward. Mr. Collins did not try to create new technology. Instead, he adapted existing solutions that have been tested by time. This approach never occurred to us. The council members nodded in agreement. The Galactic Council wishes to offer you a position, Ambassador Vorn said. We need someone to lead the atmospheric conversion project for Nebula 6. Your device works perfectly in tests, but implementing it on a planetary scale will require your unique perspective. Jack was speechless. Students were never offered council positions, especially not humans. This would be after you complete your studies, of course, the feathered council member added. With a substantial scholarship to cover the remainder of your education. I'm honored, Jack managed to say. But I'm just a first-year student. A first-year student who solved a problem that senior engineers struggle with? Ambassador Vorn said. Your approach, using simple, tested methods rather than developing complex new ones, could benefit many council projects. We waste, too many resources trying to create perfect solutions, said another council member who looked like a living crystal. When sometimes the answer is much simpler. Jack thought about it. This was a huge opportunity, not just for him, but for Earth. If he succeeded, it would open doors for more humans to join galactic projects. I would be happy to accept, Jack said, on one condition. The council members looked surprised. Students didn't usually make conditions? What condition? Ambassador Vorn asked. I want to bring in other human engineers to help, Jack said. Earth has many brilliant minds with different perspectives. Working together, we could solve even more problems. The council members looked at each other, then at Dean Harmony, who nodded in approval. An excellent suggestion, Ambassador Vorn said. We will expand the human exchange program at Galactic University. Your Earth professors may also join as visiting faculty if they wish. Jack thought of Dr. Natalie Wong, whose catalytic converter was a key part of his device. She would love the chance to work with alien technology. Thank you, Jack said. I accept the position. As they discussed the details, Jack's classmates were gathering outside the dean's office. Word had spread about the meeting with the Galactic Council. When Jack finally emerged, a crowd was waiting. Krell pushed his way to the front. The four-armed Vordarian looked different now, less arrogant, more curious. Is it true? Krell asked. You've been offered a council position? Jack nodded. To lead the Nebula 6 project? But how? Asked Loop, the synthetic student. Your device is so simple. That's why it works, Jack explained. Complex isn't always better. Earth had to solve environmental problems with limited technology. We learned to be efficient. The alien students listened with new respect. Many had grown up with advanced technology and never had to think about resource constraints or simple solutions. Could you show us how your device works? Trix asked. Her eyes were now orange, the color of learning. Of course, Jack said. And I'd like to learn from you too. We all have different strengths. As Jack began explaining his device to the growing crowd of students, Professor Zixstar watched from the doorway. The professor's crystalline skin glowed with a pattern that Jack now recognized as pride. Perhaps, the professor said quietly to Dean Harmony, we have been teaching engineering incorrectly all these years. We focus on the newest theories and most advanced technologies, while overlooking simple, elegant solutions, the dean finished. For him, yes, having humans at our university will benefit everyone, it seems. Back in the hallway, Jack had opened up his device to show the inner workings. Students crowded around, asking questions and offering suggestions for improvements. For the first time since coming to Galactic University, Jack felt truly accepted. His communicator beeped again. It was a message from Olivia. How's the project going? Still on for dinner tonight? Jack smiled and typed back. Project complete. Got offered a job with the Galactic Council. And yes, definitely still on for dinner. Wait until you hear what happened. He put his communicator away and turned back to his classmates. There was still much to explain and even more to learn from each other. But Jack had proven something important today. Humanity had earned its place among the stars. 3 days after solving the Nebula 6 problem, Jack found himself in a new reality. The university had given him a larger room with a proper lab space attached. His schedule had been adjusted to include special project time for developing the planetary-scale version of his device. And everywhere he went, students and teachers alike greeted him with respect. On this particular morning, Jack was in his new lab, working on an improved version of his atmospheric converter. He had made it slightly larger and more efficient. His communicator beeped with a message from Professor Zixstar. Please come to Landing Bay 7 at noon. Important visitors have arrived. Jack checked the time. He had 2 hours to finish his current work. He carefully adjusted the filters in his new prototype and ran a test. The results were even better than before to 99.9% toxin removal. At noon, Jack made his way to Landing Bay 7, one of the smaller spacecraft docks at the university. As he approached, he saw Professor Zixtar waiting with Dean Harmony and several Galactic Council members. Behind them was a sleek silver spacecraft that Jack didn't recognize. "Ah, Mr. Collins," Professor Zixtar called out. "Just in time. What's happening?" Jack asked. "Who's visiting?" Before anyone could answer, the spacecraft's door opened. A ramp extended to the ground, and two humans walked out, a man and a woman. Jack recognized them immediately. "Dr. Wong?" "Dr. Patel," Jack exclaimed, rushing forward to greet his former professors from MIT. Dr. Natalie Wong, whose catalytic converter design was part of Jack's device, smiled broadly. "Jack, we came as soon as we got the call from the Galactic Council." Dr. Raj Patel, Jack's environmental engineering professor, shook his hand firmly. "The council said you've made quite an impression, Jack. They want us to help with the Nebula 6 project." Jack turned to the council members in surprise. "You brought them here already?" "I only suggested it 3 days ago." Ambassador Vorn stepped forward. "When the Galactic Council sees value in a project, we move quickly. Your professors will be the first in an expanded human exchange program." Dean Harmony's 15 bodies glowed brighter, a sign of excitement. Dr. Wong and Dr. Patel will be guest lecturers. They will teach a special course on Earth engineering methods. Jack couldn't believe how fast things were moving. Just a week ago, he had been an overlooked exchange student that no one took seriously. Now his professors were here, ready to help change how the galaxy approached engineering problems. "There's more," Professor Zixtar said. His crystalline skin flashed with patterns that Jack now knew meant excitement. "Show him, Ambassador." Ambassador Vorn handed Jack a small transparent tablet. On it was an official document with the Galactic Council seal. "This is the patent for your atmospheric conversion device, registered in your name. The Council has approved its use throughout the galaxy, with appropriate compensation to you as the inventor." Jack stared at the document. Going to be paid for this?" "Indeed," said the feathered council member. "The initial licensing fee alone is quite substantial. Your invention will be used on 7 planets with similar atmospheric problems." Dr. Wong put her hand on Jack's shoulder. "You've done something extraordinary, Jack. Not just the invention itself, but showing the galaxy a different way to approach problems." "I couldn't have done it without your research," Jack said honestly. "The catalytic converter you designed was the key component, which you adapted brilliantly," Dr. Wong replied. "Now, are you going to show us this famous device of yours?" Jack led the group to his lab, where his latest prototype was still running tests. Dr. Wong and Dr. Patel examined it with professional interest, asking questions and making suggestions. The alien officials watched with fascination as the 3 humans spoke in technical terms, building on each other's ideas. "Notice how they focus on practical improvements rather than theoretical perfection," Dean Harmony said quietly to Professor Zixtar. "This is what we've been missing." After the tour of Jack's lab, everyone moved to a conference room for an official meeting. Plans were made for the expanded human exchange program. 5 more human students would join next semester, along with 3 more professors. Jack would lead a special team focusing on the Nebula 6 project, working with both human and alien engineers. "We have also arranged something special for you, Mr. Collins," Ambassador Vorn said near the end of the meeting. "In recognition of your achievement, you have been granted permission to visit Nebula 6 next month. You will be among the first to see the planet you are helping to transform." Jack could hardly contain his excitement. "Thank you, Ambassador. That's an incredible opportunity." As the meeting ended and people began to leave, Krell approached Jack. The Vordarian student had been waiting outside. "Jack Collins," Krell said formally, "I wish to apologize for my previous behavior. I was wrong to judge you and your species based on assumptions." "It's okay," Jack said. "I understand why you thought that way." "Several of us have formed a study group," Krell continued. "We are trying to learn the human approach to problem solving. Would you consider joining us once a week to share your insights?" Jack smiled. I'd be happy to. And maybe you could teach me some Vordarian methods too. We all have something to learn from each other. Krell's diamond-shaped head tilted in agreement. This is why the university exists, to share knowledge across species. After Krell left, Jack returned to his room. He had a dinner date with Olivia in an hour, and he couldn't wait to tell her everything that had happened. As he prepared the holographic projector, his communicator beeped again. It was a message from the university's news service. They had published an article about Jack's invention and the expansion of the human exchange program. The headline read, "Human Student Revolutionizes Galactic Engineering Approach." Jack read the article with a mix of pride and humility. The final paragraph stood out to him. Jack Collins has done more than solve a difficult engineering problem. He has shown the galactic community that sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones, and that every species, no matter how new, to the stars has valuable perspectives to offer. The human approach to problem-solving, practical, resourceful, and efficient, will now be taught alongside more traditional methods at Galactic University. Jack set down his communicator and smiled. When he had left Earth as the first human exchange student, he had hoped to learn from alien civilizations. He never expected that they would end up learning from him too. As he finished setting up for his dinner date with Olivia, Jack looked out his window at the stars. Somewhere out there was Nebula 6, a planet he would help transform. And beyond that were countless other worlds where human ingenuity might make a difference. The future, suddenly, seemed full of possibilities. 1 month later, Jack stood at the viewing window of the Galactic Council research vessel, Horizon. Below them, the swirling purple clouds of Nebula 6 stretched as far as he could see. The planet looked both beautiful and deadly. "We will begin." "Atmospheric processing in 1 hour," announced Captain Lur, a tall insect-like alien with compound eyes that reflected the purple light from the planet. "Mr. Collins, your team is ready in the deployment bay." Jack nodded and made his way through the ship. The corridors were filled with a mix of aliens and humans. The 5 new human students had arrived 2 weeks ago, along with Dr. Wong, Dr. Patel, and another Earth professor named Dr. Garcia. They had worked day and night to build 50 large-scale versions of Jack's atmospheric converter. In the deployment bay, Jack found his team checking the devices one last time. Krell was there too, working alongside Sam Rivera, one of the new human students. "All systems are green," Krell reported when he saw Jack. "The deployment pods are loaded and ready." "Good work," Jack said. He looked at the huge version of his simple invention. Each one was now the size of a small car, but the basic design remained the same. "Dr. Wong, how are the catalysts looking?" Dr. Wong looked up from her testing equipment. "Perfect. They'll last at least 5 years before needing replacement." Ambassador Vorn entered the bay with Professor Zixtar and Dean Harmony. The professor's crystalline skin sparkled with excitement patterns. "Today is a historic day," Ambassador Vorn announced. "The first step in making Nebula 6 habitable. And it would not be possible without the human approach to this problem." He turned to Jack. "Mr. Collins, would you like to say a few words before deployment begins?" Jack hadn't prepared anything, but he looked around at the mixed team of humans and aliens working together and knew what to say. "A month ago, I was just trying to pass a class," Jack began. "I never imagined I'd be here today. But what we've accomplished isn't about me or any single person. It's about combining different perspectives. Earth technology may seem simple compared to galactic standards, but sometimes simple is exactly what's needed." He gestured to the devices waiting to be deployed. "These converters use principles from Earth's past, improved with galactic materials. They show what we can achieve when we learn from each other instead of assuming one approach is always best." The team applauded, and even Captain Lear's antennae wiggled in the insect equivalent of approval. "Well said," Professor Zixtar commented. "Now, let us proceed with deployment." The team took their positions at the control stations. Jack stood at the main console with Dr. Wong and Krell on either side of him. On the large screen, they could see 50 deployment pods ready to launch. "Beginning countdown," announced the ship's computer. Deployment in 10.9. Jack thought about how far he had come in just 1 month, from an overlooked exchange student to leading a planet-changing project. And it had all started with a class assignment that was supposed to be impossible for humans. 3.1. Deployment initiated. The pods shot out from the ship, streaking down toward the purple atmosphere of Nebula 6. Each pod contained one of Jack's converters. As they watched on the screen, the pods entered the atmosphere and began to descend toward predetermined locations around the planet. All pods on correct trajectory, reported Sam. Deploying parachutes now. On the screen, tiny dots appeared above each falling pod as the parachutes opened, slowing their descent. First pod has landed, Krell announced. Converter activating ... now. Everyone watched the atmospheric readings on the main screen. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then slowly, a small circle of golden air appeared around the first landing site, standing out against the purple toxins. "It's working!" Dr. Wong exclaimed. One by one, the other converters landed and activated. 50 circles of clean, breathable air appeared across the planet's surface, and they were growing. Atmospheric conversion rate is 17% higher than projected, Krell reported, his forearms moving quickly over the controls. At this rate, the planet will have breathable air in just 63 days instead of the estimated 75. Ambassador Vorn turned to Jack. "Congratulations, Mr. Collins. Your simple solution is proving even more effective than we hoped." As the team continued to monitor the deployment, Jack stepped back for a moment. He took out his communicator and opened his scheduled call with Olivia. Her smiling face appeared on the screen. "Hey, Space Boy," she said. "How's the big day going?" "It's working, Live," Jack said, turning the camera so she could see the main screen with the growing circles of clean air. "The converters are performing even better than we expected." "I knew they would," Olivia said proudly. "When do you come?" "Home for break?" 3 weeks, Jack said. "But I have some news. The Galactic Council has approved funding for 10 more human exchange students next semester. They want me to help select candidates." Olivia's eyes widened. "Jack, that's amazing." "And," Jack continued, "they specifically asked if you would consider applying. Your work in bioengineering could be useful for the next phase, introducing plant life to help maintain the new atmosphere." "Me? At Galactic University?" Olivia looked shocked, then excited. "Of course I'll apply." "Good," Jack said, smiling. "Because I already put your name at the top of the list." Their conversation was interrupted by cheers from the team. Jack turned to see what was happening. "The conversion rate has increased again," Professor Zixtar explained. "The process is creating a chain reaction in the atmosphere, accelerating the cleanup. Your design is even more efficient than we calculated." Jack said goodbye to Olivia and rejoined the team. For the next several hours, they monitored the converters and collected data. The golden areas of clean air continued to grow and merge. As the day ended, Captain Lur invited everyone to the ship's observation deck for a celebration. Through the massive windows, they could see Nebula 6 below them. Now, with large patches of golden atmosphere breaking through the purple toxins, Professor Zixtar approached Jack with a drink of shimmering blue liquid. "I remember when I assigned that project," the professor said. "I thought it would take you 2 weeks just to understand the problem. Instead, you solved it before dinner," Jack smiled. "I was motivated. I had a dinner date with Olivia that night." The professor's crystalline skin flashed with amusement patterns. "Perhaps I should assign more projects with tight deadlines." "Just be prepared for human solutions," Jack said, looking out at the planet they were transforming. "We tend to find shortcuts." "And the galaxy is better for it," Professor Zixtar sighed, raising his glass in a toast. "To human ingenuity and to dinner dates that inspire greatness." Everyone on the observation deck raised their glasses and repeated the toast. As Jack looked around at humans and aliens celebrating together, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction. What had started as a challenging class assignment had turned into something much bigger, a bridge between Earth and the stars, and it had All happened because an alien teacher had given him a massive project, and Jack had crushed it before dinner.